Coming to you live Friday, 11 o'clock Seder. This is an early one for us, but we had to get to it, man. We had to get to it. We're a little bit late in the week, but we're going to preview the NFL Divisional Round. Sage, how you feeling, man? We said it last week that this is the best week in all sports. We got four games that are looking pretty solid, but overall, how you feeling about this weekend, my man?
I mean, Chase, I love you, but as soon as you tried to even make it a debate last week, like, is wildcard weekend better? I shut it down. I shut it down right away. I was like the fire marshal. Like, we shut that shit down right away. Like,
Sage, we're entertainers, man. If I'm trying to do a wildcard preview, I got to make it sound like it's the best thing out there, right? I'm like a boxing promoter promoting a shitty fight. Like, I got to throw everything in there to try to get eyes on it.
Chase, I'll say this though, like the one like bright spot, obviously as an Oregon Ducks fan, I was pissed. I was so mad about how it went down, how they lost to an 8 seed. But the one bright spot now with the national championship being the tail end of divisional rounds going forward, like I didn't even consider that. So it's like you have divisional football Saturday, divisional football Friday, and then you got national championship Monday. I feel like that's got to be one of the best 3-day stretches in sports.
100%. Sage, I'll be honest with you. We always talk about my boy Remo, my roommate Remo,
just
the resident Notre Dame fan. I got no faith, man. I think they're going to get fucked up by Ohio State. And I don't know how to tell him this in a nice way. I'm going to be there at bus stop with him, supporting the Irish, but I think if it's like 14-0, I may have to find my exit or like I'm just going to be in best friend mode at that point. Like I just got to make sure that my boy's okay.
It's one of those things where it's like, it's the definition of like, we're just happy to be there. I really feel that. I feel like you just got to be happy to be there. No one expected them to be there. Maybe Lou Holtz, but that's it. It's just them versus the world.
You're going to like everybody. You're going to see the start of the game. You're going to see the pregame show. They're going to be like, if Notre Dame could stop the run, move the chains, just make sure that they get some points on the board early in the game. And then right away, you're going to see what's that wide receiver's name for Ohio State?
Jeremiah Smith.
You're going to see Jeremiah Smith just fucking hit like a 45-yard catch. They're going to have a Buka get an open, and it's going to be like, okay, this is a complete mismatch.
He just turned 19. I had to look that up. I remember it was
He's 19?
He just turned 19 2 months ago.
Doesn't that make you feel shitty when we're like 25 and this guy's
100%.
19? He's like dominating the college scene. It's like, where did my life go? Where am I? Yeah, we're just podcasting talking about him. But all right,
we're talking about
that'll be fun to watch too. But let's just dive into the divisional matchups. We're just going to go chronological. We're simple men. We're going to just start with a game that starts Saturday, 1:30. That's going to be the Chiefs who are taking on the Texans. The Chiefs are -8.5. We know that the game's going to be out at Arrowhead. It's going to be 24 degrees, sunny day. Sage, we already saw this matchup earlier in the year. The Chiefs won 27-19. But if you really look back at that game, it was pretty even the entire way, all up until the start of the second half where Tank Dell unfortunately broke his leg. From that point on, CJ Stroud was crying. The Chiefs really just took control, dominated that game. They only won by 8, but you never really felt like the Texans had a way to get back into the game. So that happened less than a month ago, but we're going to see a rematch on Saturday. How do you feel about this? Do the Texans have any shot?
Do they have a shot to win? No. I think they have no shot to win. To cover, obviously, is a different thing. But I'll just go off who's going to win. It's the Chiefs. The Chiefs are rested. They have all the advantages playing to them. So I just can't see it. I mean, I think we were kind of fooled with what we saw. I think what we saw in that first quarter and a half from the Texans is what the Texans are. I don't know if you agree with that, but I think that's who the Houston Texans are. I think they're the worst offense left in these playoffs by a mile. I don't even think it's close. I don't even know who's the close second to them. I think they have a good quarterback, but I think they by far have the worst quarterback in the AFC. And their defense is good, but what their defense is good at, the Chiefs aren't like going to lean into. They're going to expose what they're bad at.
Sage, I don't know about that because the Texans got Will Anderson. They got Danielle Hunter. That's their edge rushers, and we know the entire year the Chiefs tackles cannot block. Mahomes makes it work, but I feel like if anything, the Texans' strength is the only thing that gives them a potential shot to make it a close game. Get all up in Mahomes' ass, make him make mistakes, pressure. And I feel like Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson could do that.
But we've seen it. Like, we saw the Chiefs play that defense. Obviously, no Aziz. He was still suspended, but Aziz got hurt last week. I don't know if he's going to play this weekend. They put up 27 on him with ease, too. It was like long, methodical drives ending in touchdowns. It wasn't short fields. Like, It was just like going down the field, not being able to get stopped and just scoring. Like I said, if the Texans scored 30, the Chiefs could have got 40 on them. It seemed like they had whatever they wanted on them. They kind of stopped them at the end and they took their foot off the gas because they had a short turnaround Wednesday. I don't know, man. I saw a different game. I thought the Chiefs dominated them. I think that was the first game where they slid Joe Thuney out to left tackle from the guard position, and it worked well. And that's why they kept it going in that game against the Steelers. They rest him week 18.
But they're not doing that, Sage. They're not doing that anymore. He's going to be left guard.
Is that 100% sure?
Yeah, he's not been left tackle. I'm pretty sure, Sage, he's only been the left tackle for a couple games here. I swear to God.
Yeah, it was the last 3 weeks of the season. They moved him to left tackle.
But I think that's because somebody was injured, but they're coming back in.
I'm looking at it right now from Jeremy Fowler. Chiefs plan to start Joe Thuney at the left tackle Saturday.
Wow.
DJ Humphries is healthy, but Thuney's Pro Bowl guard flourished in the tackle relief, allowing no pressures. Chiefs have prepared to ride the hot hand.
Wow, you're right. My bad, Sage. My bad,
So
Sager.
I just think like that was a weakness. What was the other weakness? Jalen Watson. Do you know who they just activated? Jalen Watson.
Yeah, I saw that.
Secondary is gonna be loaded. I just think the Texans offense is so bad. Mahomes isn't gonna give you those balls that Justin Herbert gave you. There's not gonna be the mistakes going forward. I like the Chiefs, man, to win by a mile. Like I think the Chiefs, Ohio State parlay, I will ride it with all the schmucks out there. Money line, put whatever you want on it and just put it in the bank and don't worry about it.
I mean, can we bring up the obvious fact that the Chiefs are also on basically a 2-week bye? They didn't play anybody in that Broncos game. What?
It's basically a 3-week bye.
Well, it's not a 3-week bye. They've had 3 weeks of rest since their last game, but you know what I mean.
No,
week 18's a bye. What was week 17?
Because they played on Wednesday because it was Christmas.
Oh, that's right. I mean,
so it's almost 3 weeks.
I would love to be the guy. I would love to be the guy who's trying to do the rust over rest argument, but with the Chiefs, no. When you have guys like Travis Kelce, who's 37 years old, you have Mahomes, who's been getting beat up all year. You want that rest. So that's going to definitely be something that's not going right for the Texans. Like you brought up, CJ Stroud, he's not been good all year, okay? I don't think he even threw for 4,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. We're not huge QBR guys, but he was 24th in the league. No Tank Dell, no Stephon Diggs. Sage, I don't know why people don't make a bigger deal of this. Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator, taking head coaching interviews. Don't you feel like if you're the Texans and you're already kind of a couple steps off being favored in this game, you don't want your coaches really focusing on head coaching interviews instead of trying to prep for the game? Am I crazy there with that?
I think it closes, right? It closes this weekend or this week for interviews until the playoffs end. I'm not sure exactly how the calendar works.
He interviewed this week.
Yeah, I think that's how it works. I mean, you could say the same thing about the Lions. Both their coordinators have been interviewing this week. But I mean, like, he's just going to take the opportunity. It does suck. We went through it. When the week before we played the Cowboys 2 years ago, D'Amico interviewed with the Texans. And we're just like, okay, this sucks. Like he's got like Dak and Ferguson and CD to worry about. But it just happens. It's the downfall of having a good organization. People like to poach from you, pick your staff. It's one of those we'll see, man. Like, I don't think Slowick had like a great offense this year. I think
I know. Him. I just brought that up as like a little extra point because I feel like they're already at such a disadvantage. We know that this Texans offense is usually its best when Joe Mixon's running the ball well, but Sage, I mean, we saw it against the Niners earlier in the year. This Chiefs run D is almost impenetrable. Like we've seen in a couple games where, like you brought up, maybe the Chiefs didn't play their A game, didn't go 100%. They're going to be going balls to the wall. So I think it's going to be hard for the Texans to run the ball. CJ Stroud, Nico Collins is a stud, but you don't have Tank Dell. You don't have Stephon Diggs. So even though I said that there is a chance for them to make it a game because they have those two dynamic edge rushers with Anderson and Hunter, it seems like the Chiefs Invitational is happening next Sunday, and it's going to be at Arrowhead. So
Chase,
I could try to make my case for the Texans all that I want, but I trust Mahomes way more than I trust CJ Stroud. I trust that defense more than I trust the Texans defense. There's no logical way you could really look at this game and be for sure that the Texans are going to win this game.
No way in hell. I mean, Chase, you love to give your boy Jesse Minter credit, but he didn't do anything to adjust. I mean, the Texans in that first half, what were they trying to do? They were trying to run, or they were trying to just feed Mechie and Hutchinson. They were like trying to go away from their guys. And then in that second half, what happens? They just start force feeding Joe Mixon, Nico Collins, and they didn't do anything. Like they don't have another receiver, and you're not doubling this guy. You're not sending any help. He's eating you up on these big gotta have it situations when you know they're going to him. I think the Chiefs, you give Spags. Another thing, we're gonna get to our picks. Should we just get to it now? Should we just get to it now?
With what? The pick for the game?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm on the Chiefs. I'm taking the Chiefs -8.5. I think the key thing here is the Chiefs are healthy. You have Hollywood. You have a rested Kelsey. You gave DeAndre Hopkins rest. That's kind of big. You gave him another week to practice with Mahomes. He's going to be rested. You still have Xavier Worthy. Spags gets his second look now at CJ Stroud, at Nico Collins, at that offense. They're going to know what to expect. They're weak at the receiver. And like you said, they don't need a plan to stop the run because stopping the run is just second nature to them. They just do it. They don't need to plan to stop it because they got big boys in the middle. They got big boys on the outside, and they just stop the run. Bolton, all those guys. They're going to be up trying to stop Joe Mixon from taking over the game, and they're going to be able to cover on the outside with Watson, with Duffy. I just think it's ladled like it's just all over. I love the Chiefs here. Everything seems like it's a Chiefs make a statement spot, and they dominate them. They dominate this Texans team.
Yeah, so I'm going to roll with the Chiefs -8.5 too. I think, like I brought up on our last episode, I'm not going to be a sucker. I'm not going to see what I saw from the Texans last Sunday and be like, oh, maybe. I brought up a couple reasons that they could maybe get into the game just because this is a show, babe. We're trying to entertain the people. We're not just going to say it's a blowout.
Show business.
I could see a route, maybe with a backdoor. But in all honesty, Sage, I've been dogging this Chiefs team all year. I've been dogging them. And the first time I thought, okay, shit, maybe I've been wrong about this Chiefs team, was that Texans game because it was at Arrowhead. It felt like a playoff atmosphere. You could kind of feel the playoff weather coming in, and they just grabbed that game and looked so comfortable up one score for the entire second half. So I'm rolling with the Chiefs. I have no faith in CJ Stroud. Haven't the entire year. I don't think he's going to be able to score on this defense, and Mahomes finds a way. Mahomes is going to find a way. Now that he has weapons like Hollywood Brown coming back, DeAndre Hopkins seems like he's really settling in. They're gonna take the tarp off of Travis Kelce now. I think you're gonna see Travis Kelce start to dominate a little bit as well. We know that they're able to get that run game going. I don't know if that's a great call to get Tooney out on left tackle. I always like them having that 3-guard setup in the middle, just kind of making it hard for other teams to stop their run. But
you saw it. They struggled to run the ball against Pittsburgh. Like it's real. They struggled to run the ball against the Texans. Like it is going to have its impacts, but I think they just realized they need to keep Mahomes upright.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of like pick your poison. Do you want your quarterback to just get blindsided on the left side, or do you want to kind of have your run game be affected a little bit? So I'm going.
I like
Chiefs.
It for them, man. I like it.
Yeah, I'm going with Chiefs -8.5. I never really considered Texans +8.5.
I said this was the easiest game for me. This was the easiest game by far. Like from start to finish, I was Chiefs nothing. I was looking for signs to pull me over to Houston. This was the easiest game. This feels like one of those moments where in 48 hours we look at TikTok and we just look like the biggest idiots on earth that we're getting.
You're saying if you pick the Texans?
No, with how confident we are right now. Like we're just like, oh, this is easy.
I'll take the fucking chance. I'd rather
live
do
and
that
die.
Than be like, could you imagine being on the other side and you're betting the Texans? You're like, I trust in this Texans team. D'Amico Ryan's going to scheme something up to stop back for Mahomes. And then they win like 35-14. It's like, okay, we're dopes. We're literally dopes.
Chase, could you say Texans +8.5?
No, I won't even say it. I won't even say it just to make sure that nobody clips it up, okay?
I was going to clip it up just with what you said and put it out there for your take. Just kidding.
Hey, I'm starting to become a professional now, but let's get off of that game
advantage,
stage.
QB advantage, defense advantage, offense advantage. Give me the Chiefs. I'll live and die with them.
Guys, the NFL's not stupid. There's a reason they didn't put this as a Sunday primetime game. There's a reason they put this at the Saturday 1:30. They think that the Chiefs are going to roll. So that's going to be that game. And then the Saturday night game, you got the Commanders going to Detroit to the 3-1-3 to take on the Lions. Sage, are the Lions -8.5 or are they -9.5? We talked about this a little bit. I've been seeing the line fluctuate. What are we officially set in?
I'll tell you. So me and Chase, we do these picks in the morning, but this line has been moving. Other than that Bills-Ravens game, this line has moved the most. It keeps going back and forth. Let me tell you what we got on FanDuel. It's a proud sponsor of this show. So we got -9.5 on FanDuel. When I sent it to you this morning, we had, let's see, this is terrible podcasting here. Minus 9.5. Let's go ahead and flip that. We'll make it.
Let's go minus 9.5. But in any way, Sage, I don't think that this is going to impact my pick either way if I get a point on either side. But we all know what's going on with this game, right? The over's 55.5. The reason is because the Commanders got Jane Daniels. They got probably the best rookie quarterback of all time. I've been saying he's matchup proof. I've been watching him all year. He did really well against the Buccaneers last week in that 23-20 win. The other side, Sage, you got arguably one of the best offenses that we've seen in the league the past 5 years. You got that Lions offense. You got Gibbs, Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the best O-line in football. You got Jared Goff. You got Ben Johnson like a maestro, or almost like the Godfather, just puppeteering that entire offense to destroy defenses every week. So the Lions are still minus 9.5. They're at home. They're the 1 seed for a reason. Do the Commanders keep it close? Is this just a shootout and maybe it's a one-score game? Because that's the only way that I could see a potential for this being a close game.
So you're much more confident than I am. I thought this was the hardest game to pick all year. Up until
Tuesday,
I was on the Commanders until Tuesday. And I really started to think about it, like what's at stake, how bad the Commanders defense has looked. And with Montgomery being activated, I just thought like the Lions are going to score.
Is that a good thing though? I think that's a genuine conversation.
They're going to use him sparingly. It's going to be like last year in the playoffs. He'll get 10. Gibbs will get like 8 to 9. I mean, I'll say, or 18 to 19. It's better than what's his name? Cam Reynolds or whatever his name was. Reynolds.
Josh Reynolds.
No, I think Josh Reynolds is the receiver. Or is it Josh Reynolds? Josh Reynolds is the receiver they had last year who dropped that 3rd and 8. Yeah, that's Josh Reynolds.
I think you're right. He's the guy on Denver now. You're right.
Yeah, he's the guy who dropped the 3rd and 8 versus the Niners in the championship game.
Shout out. Thank you, Josh Reynolds.
Thank you, Josh Reynolds. Just going off that, though, I just can't see the Commanders. They're bend but don't break. But against this Lions team, everyone breaks. There's no bending. They're going to get in the red zone. They're going to hit you with some stumble bomb, some triple pass, a hook and ladder. Right? They're going to find a way to get into the end zone. It's what they do. It's second nature to them, like how second nature to the Chiefs is stopping the run. They don't got to try to put up 30. They just put up 30. It comes, they roll out of bed, they put up 30. Pick your poison. I think the Lions defense showed me something. For as bad as Sam Darnold was those past 2 weeks, they showed me something with Anzalone that they can get to the quarterback. They can
exactly.
I think that's big. Does it worry me with Jaden Daniels? Yes. If he extends the play and you have one-on-one coverage with those corners and he could run on them, escapes the pressure, we're going to have trouble. The Commanders create long, methodical drives, but they struggled to score against that Bucs team, right? Like they were at 13 until the third quarter. Then they're 2 mistakes in to get to 23. It took the fumble and then that 4th down just blunder.
They did get stopped on some goal situations. So they were able to move the ball. It was just hard for them to really punch it into the end zone.
So that is what worries me, is that it's going to turn into a game of the Commanders go down, score 7, 8-minute drive. Lions score in 4 minutes. Commanders go down, score like 3 8-minute drive. And it's just like very little possessions, because I think it's going to be easy to move the ball, but I think both teams want to run it. So the clock's going to be moving. I think it's going to be a good one, man, but I'm with you. I got the Lions minus 9.5. I flipped midweek. I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to trust the team with the better coach. I can't say the better quarterback because I'd rather have Jaden, but the better weapons. And for my money's worth, the better defense. Getting a little healthier, at home, motivated, rested. And is it a short? No, not a short week, but they got the rest advantage. I got the Lions minus 9.5.
Sage, a lot of people think that this game's going to be close, or they think that this Commanders defense is relatively average, which is what they are, right? They're the 18th ranked defense in the league, but they're the 29th ranked defense against the run. That is a nightmare matchup going into Detroit. I mean, you got that O-line, right, that we've been calling the best in football all year. Montgomery's coming back, but behind that O-line, Jahmyr Gibbs against that defense, I don't think they're going to be able to get a stop. I don't. I think the Lions have been gearing for this team for the past 2 weeks.
Exactly.
They're rested. They're going to be at home. Sage, it's going to be going wild in Detroit. They're going to be going wild in Detroit. The Lions are going to be able to run all day on this defense. I get it. Jaden Daniels has been sweet all year. When you look at the Commanders, who do they really have around him? They don't have a great O-line. They don't have great weapons. Brian Robinson in the backfield is not really going to be a difference maker. We know that they got Terry McLaurin. Zacchaeus has been picking it up a little bit.
Is it De'Ami Brown?
De'Ami Brown too, but it just seems like Jaden's on his own, and he's going up against probably the best team in football, at
I'll be
least in
honest
the
with you, though.
NFC.
Do you
At
know what it
least in
reminds
the
me of?
NFC.
It reminds me of like Lamar, his first year, when his receivers were just like no names, whatever, but it worked, right? It's not but they do have Terry. Terry's no bum. I love Terry. So they do have Terry, but I just don't think it matters. Like I said with Lamar, he has gravity. He has that gravity where he has so many eyes on him that guys just get open. They create so
I
many.
love Jaden, but he's not Lamar, Sage. He's not Lamar.
He's a better passer. He's not as good a runner,
But why is all the gravity on Lamar? It's because he cannot be stopped when he's running the ball, when he has the ball in his hands. Jaden's very elusive and efficient as a runner, but he's not a guy like Lamar
he's more
where
practical too. Like Lamar tries to go through the tackles and get downfield. Jaden doesn't really do that as much because he knows, like he broke his ribs or whatever. He cracked his ribs. He's not going to try and do that again.
But I don't know, Sage. I mean, are we even sure that this Commanders offense could score reliably on this Lions defense?
No,
like you brought up.
I'm not.
Like you brought up, Anzalone coming back in Week 18 against the Vikings, that was huge. Zadarius Smith proved to be a great signing. They had Aiden Hutchinson go down. You know that you needed somebody on the edge who could bring some pressure or you're going to be done. So that turned out to be big. Yes, we know that they have holes all over, especially at cornerback, but talk about Aaron Glenn, man. That guy's been one of, if not, the hottest names in the NFL coaching cycle next to Ben Johnson. We saw the adjustments that he made in that Niner game where each team was going down, scoring. He said, we got to find a way to make a turnover, flip this game on its head. He turned Brock Purdy over twice. They won the game by more than 10. By double digits, they covered the spread. Last week, he basically broke Sam Darnold. From the point that Sam Darnold went on to Ford Field to play the Lions, he wasn't the same. Aaron Glenn was literally chilling by the third quarter on the bench by himself. You got to give him some credit.
I do.
I think that Aaron Glenn's going to cook up something nice for Jaden. You got the Lions at home. You got the best offense in football. If Jaden makes it a close game, I wouldn't be completely surprised because I know that Jane Daniels is great, but this just seems like the moment where it's a little bit too much. I think the Commanders, in a sense, are just happy to be there. They already got their playoff win. They know that the franchise is on its way back. I think that this is all Detroit.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I'm going to bet on the side that I just have more confidence in. It's kind of a theme for what I'm doing today.
There we go. All right, so let's go to the Sunday slate. So, Sage, what do you think about this one being a little bit earlier? I think this one's starting at 12 o'clock Western time. Wouldn't you want to get a Sunday game in at like 5:30 compared to the last game being at 3:30, or how do you feel about that?
I just think for Sunday, they favor those early games for the East Coast. I don't really understand it. I like what you're saying. Like, I like the Saturday schedule. Give me one at 1, give me one at 5. Like, I want that night game, that real night game. Whatever it does, I'll be watching. Whatever it may be, I'll still be there.
Oh, no shit. We're both going to be watching no matter what time it is, but I like it a little bit later.
Do you know it's going to be snowing right now? It's projected on the forecast to snow, like a little bit of some sleet.
So I saw that. So for this game, we got the Rams taking on the Eagles. It's going to be in the link stage. So the Eagles are -6.5. Like you said, it's going to be 33 degrees with a chance of snow. A lot different from the atmosphere they played the last time. So these two teams played, but it was in SoFi, in the Dome, in LA before, in all honesty, LA got on fire. So the Eagles dominated that game. They won 37-20. They were up 37-14 at the end of the third quarter. Saquon Barkley, I didn't look into it. I don't know if he broke any records, but he ran for 255 yards. And I think 2 touchdowns. So Saquon was unstoppable that game. But after that point, that's when you saw the Rams really start to get on a roll. I think that's when they beat the Bills. They won a couple tough games against the Jets, against the 49ers. And we know what they did last week against the Vikings, just dominated them, really put the nail in the coffin of Sam Darnold's career in Minnesota. So the Rams are coming in a little bit hot, but Sage, this Eagles team has been dominant all year.
They've been dominant. I mean, you just have to go back and watch that matchup, right? What they do well, the Rams have nothing to like protect against. You're going to have AJ Brown. You're going to have Devontae Smith on the outside versus those young Rams corners. They can eat. You got Dallas Goedert. You got that line. You got Saquon Barkley. As I mentioned, it's going to be snowing or raining. It's going to be terrible weather. Your defense is going to show up. Your run defense is going to show up. For as much as we may or may not like Stafford, he's a dome quarterback. Chase, he's played in 9 rain or snow games in his entire career. 9 of them only. You're going to Philly where they make their living in the cold. In those games, do you want to guess what his record is straight up and then against the spread? 9 games in his career in rain or snow.
I'm going to say straight up he's 3-6.
Straight up, he's 1-8.
Oh, shit. Against the spread, 0-9.
Against the spread, 2-7. So it just shows you, man, like it's a real thing, right? You see it with the Dolphins. You see it with these West Coast teams. He was a dome quarterback even at Detroit. When they got to go play in the cold, especially like what we were just talking about, coming off a short week, they played on Monday. They didn't even play in their home stadium. They were in Arizona, then have to go back to LA, camp out, and then go back all the way, fly to Philly. I don't like the way it favors for them. I just think that the weather, the Philly run game, the Philly defense, everything's going to show up. I don't trust Sirianni. I don't trust Hurts, which is so funny because I look at quarterback, I look at coach. Rams have the decided advantage. It's not even close, in my opinion. But what the Eagles have over them is everything else. They just have everything else over them to the point where it's overwhelming. They're going to be able to run the ball. They're going to be able to stop the Rams run, which the Rams are going to want to do. They're going to want to run the ball in that weather, and they're going to be able to get after Stafford. So I just feel like it's a formula for the Eagles. Potential blowout. I just think it's going to be a potential blowout here. I love the Eagles. I love everything about them. Alternate spread, touchdown scores, everything. It's one of those things where it's just like, it just makes too much sense. They dominated them already on the road. Now you got to get them at home in your backyard, in your own conditions. And on top of that, your team's fully healthy for like the third time ever this whole season. Jalen Hurts last week, first game in 4 weeks, warmed up, looked a little rusty. I don't expect him to look that bad.
Looked like shit. I thought he didn't look good.
Yeah.
At all.
I don't expect him to look that bad again. But besides, even with that, they were able to put up 22, dominate that Packers team, and just squeeze the life out of them like they do best. So I'm on the Eagles here, Chase, -6.5. I'd take it if it was -9.5. I was like thinking about that when I took this. I was like, what would it have to be for me to consider the Rams? I was like, if it went over 10, I'd take the Rams. But I love the Eagles here.
So this is going to be a tough weekend for West Coast football fans because we all know the classic narrative, right? West Coast teams come over to the East Coast when it's cold. They can't get it done. All the Rams are going to be bundled up. And what you're going to see is you're going to see this Philly O-line dominate that Rams D-line again. I mean, we brought up Byron Young, Jared Verse. I know that they got some young guys on that D-line. They ran for over 300 yards. Saquon just had 250 of it the last time they played. They're going to be moving this Rams D-line. Sage, Ahkello Witherspoon's their cornerback one, right?
Yeah.
And I think the other
I saw a tweet about him versus AJ Brown in their careers, and it's disgusting how much AJ owns him.
Ahkello Witherspoon's your best cornerback. The other cornerback can't be that great if Ahkello Witherspoon's your number one. You got AJ Brown. You got Devonta Smith. I'm on the same boat as you where I'm not a true believer in Jalen Hurts. I'm not a true believer in Nick Sirianni. I think that McVay, at his best, could out-scheme Sirianni. But you know what you can out-scheme? Where the O-line gets a push on your D-line 5 yards down the field every single play, and you got to tackle Saquon Barkley. So I think Saquon's going to have a big game. A.J. Brown's going to get open. Devonta's going to get open. You're at home. Sage, the link is probably, we saw it with the 49ers a couple years ago going into Philly. That was a scary atmosphere. I mean, did you see that fan the last weekend? What he was doing to the Lady Packers fan?
Yeah, that's just ridiculous, though. But you got to respect
it. Did you see what happened to him, by the way?
No.
Lost
his ass kicked?
He lost his job.
Actually?
Yeah, he lost his job. And I was just looking into some stuff about But I was looking at some stuff about Philly. Dude, at the old Veterans Stadium, do you know that they actually had an on-site judicial court in jail cells because the Philly fans would get so crazy? They're like, we need to process these guys right now. There's like hundreds of dudes who are getting thrown into jail every home game. Kind of crazy.
But I think it works both ways where if they fall behind, like say the Rams do what they did against the Vikings, just go down and score, they're going to get a little restless. They're going to get a little uneasy.
I know, but I don't see that at all.
I don't see it either.
What I'm saying is that these Philly fans are it's going to be such a tough atmosphere. You're not going to see one Rams fan.
I was just about to make that point.
You're not going to
be no one to harass this week.
Like sometimes when you got like the Steelers or you got the Niners coming in, you got to worry a little bit about some of the opposing fans being in that stadium. You're not going to see that once. Like I said, the Phillies or the Eagles offense is going to be able to move the ball the entire way. When I look at the Rams offense, yes, you got Puka Nacua, you got Cooper Kupp, right? I don't know. I feel like the Eagles have one of the best secondaries in the league. You got our boy Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, Darius Slay. You got a couple safeties, Reed Blankenship, and is it C.J. Gardner-Johnson?
Yeah, C.J.
Zach Bond, one of the candidates for Defensive Player of the Year. we know that Philly D-line with Jalen Carter is stacked up too. So the Rams aren't going to be able to move the ball. Puka and Cooper Kupp are going to have tough matchups all day. I don't see any way the Eagles don't win by a touchdown. I mean, what is the Rams' realistic route to winning this game?
They're going to have to stop the run. Like they're just going to have to put together some plan to stop the run. And if it doesn't,
it's going to have to be Jalen Hurts' nightmare game.
Yeah. I don't even think so, dude. He had a nightmare game last week, and what did they do? They just took the ball out of his hands. They just made him run, and they made him hand it off to Saquon. You saw a little Kenneth Gainwell get in there. I honestly think like they're Jalen Hurts nightmare game matchup proof. Like if Stafford has a nightmare game, they lose by 40. Jalen Hurts could go 2 picks, like 100 yards, and they could still win this game by 3. I could 100% see it. So I don't even know what it would take. It would take them putting the ball on the ground, the defense not showing up. It'd have to be outside of Hurts almost. It'd have to be more so like the Rams could just pick apart that defense.
The only team that could beat Philly in Philly, I think, is a team that's explosive. And like a team like the Lions where you could just get hit with a couple plays and they score. Because I feel like the Eagles are going to try to just dominate the time of possession. Yeah. They're going to try to move Saquon. They're not going to have Jalen Hurts be high-flying, throwing deep balls to Devonta Smith. So the only teams that could realistically beat them at the link are teams that could take the top off of that defense. And that's not going to be Matt Stafford in the cold. That's not going to be this Rams offense in the cold. So what does I just don't get the line here. I feel like the line should have been 7.5. Is Vegas just taking into account that a lot of people are going to see how the Rams kick the shit out of the Vikings, and a lot of people are really just going to be riding with the Rams the entire way to make it to the Super Bowl? Because nothing else makes sense to me.
I think it's the McVay factor, how they looked on Monday. It's a lot of things that go into it, how Philly looked. I don't know, man. Like, I just can't get that first game out of my head. They dominated them. They dominated them when they played last year at SoFi as well. So I'm just with the Eagles on this one. I think it's going to be an ass kicking. I really do. I think people are still sleeping on how good this Philly team is. Also, what are these lines, bro? Like 6.5, 8.5, 9.5 for divisional round. It's
well,
crazy.
You know what it is with playoffs? I feel maybe in regular season games, you don't go balls to the wall. You're not going for 4th downs in like the third quarter on your own side of the field. Like, so you see some of the scores get inflated and the winning margins get inflated because if somebody's down 7 with about like 5 minutes left, they go for it. Then maybe the other team gets a score on top of that. It's kind of like a situation in NHL playoffs where it's always going to be -1.5 because you know you're going to have that empty net factor where they might get a goal in at the end kind of thing.
Great point.
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of what I've come to see with the playoffs at least. So, Sage, the moment that we've been waiting for. Do we get it locked in at -1.5? So okay, so the Ravens are -1.5. They're going into Buffalo to take on the Bills. Sage, every NFL fan has wanted this matchup the entire week or the entire year. You got Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. They've been fighting for the MVP the entire year. Now we're going to see it in action. Josh Allen, when you look at his playoff resume, he's been the guy where if you look at the stats, he's had some of the best stats any quarterback's ever had in the playoffs. He's just gone up against Mahomes. The Bills as a team haven't been able to get it done. On the other side, you have Lamar, who already has 2 regular season MVPs. But when the playoffs come, he's a different guy. Defenses scheme him up a little bit differently, put him in uncomfortable situations, and the Ravens haven't been able to get it done and even make it to the Super Bowl. So a lot to prove for both quarterbacks. Like I said, they've been going up for the MVP the entire year. Ravens are favored, but I feel like a lot of people are on Buffalo still.
Well, it seems like the money's on the Ravens for how much this line moved. It opened up. Bills were the favorites. It moved all the way across to 1.5. I don't get it, man. I just don't get it. I think it's just because of that first game, but we've seen the Ravens at this time in this time of year in this position just look bad. I can't get that history out of my head. I think that weighs heavier than what I saw in that first game. When the line initially
opened, that first game was bullshit too. So
I agree. Josh had a hurt hand. He got dazed on that double pass fumble.
One of the worst play calls I've ever seen.
That's where the game flipped. I mean, they had a chance to go drive down and make it a 4-point game. I think it was 21-10 when it happened. They run that bullshit and he just gets leveled and the game just flips from there. Ravens scored like 4 or 5 plays later and they don't see it again. I just think when
So-
you look at that first game, go
There's-
ahead.
Yeah. No, because there's a couple other things with that game too that you got to think about even leading up to it. So the
The
Bills
Derrick
were
Henry
3-0.
touchdown.
The Bills were 3-0, right? The Ravens were 1-2. You could argue they were almost playing for their season at that point. Going 1-3 to start
100%.
the year, losing to the Bills on a Sunday night football game at home. That's a very bad way to start. So I feel like hungry dog runs faster. The Ravens had a lot more to play for. The Bills got hit with a right hook, right to start off the game. Derrick Henry took the first play for 87 yards. And the Bills were missing Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard. So they're going to have them for this game. If that game did have an impact on the line here, I don't think it should because this Bills team's different. Josh Allen's playing a lot better, and the Ravens had a lot more to play for, and they were at home. So I don't know.
Chase, so I was on the Ravens. Like I said, I was on the Ravens to start, and then I just had a vision. I was like, I don't trust Harbaugh. What's Harbaugh going to do this game? First, what they should do.
What do you
should they
mean you don't trust Harbaugh, though?
I think he's going to try and make this a mano-a-mano thing, where I think they know the narrative around Josh and Lamar. I think they know the way to beat the Bills is that they got to have Derrick Henry get 25 to 30 touches. But I think he, in his head, wants Lamar to outplay Josh so badly. I think they're going to make it a pass-heavy game like they did in the AFC
I think you're
Championship game.
tripping. I think you're fucking tripping
Really?
on that. I don't think he gives a fuck how they win the game.
Okay. Like in the AFC Championship game last year, the Chiefs, what could they not do? They couldn't stop the run. What did the Ravens insist on doing? Pass. They get in their own head with it where they try and make it a shootout. You alluded to it. That Derrick Henry touchdown on the first play from scrimmage, right? Sets the tone for the entire game. Ravens have the lead. Bills go 3 and out. They're playing from behind basically the entire game. Ravens just jump on them early, and it kind of sets the tone for the game. I think it's going to be so different. I think the Bills will scheme something up. You mentioned they have Milano back. They have a look at Lamar. Obviously, they've seen him before, but now you have a look at this team this season. No Zay Flowers. I think against the Steelers, it didn't matter a lick. I think you start to see it come to fruition a little this week. It's gonna be a little more like what we saw 2-3 years ago when he didn't have a guy. Like he's just trying to get it to these Rashad Bateman's, Nelson Aguilar types in big moments when they got to have it in the pass game, and it's not going to work out for him. I love the Bills. Some outside factors.
Yeah.
Going to that Buffalo weather. It's going to be -1 degrees. They've been practicing indoors all week because their practice facility is frozen. So they couldn't practice on it. They've been practicing indoors all week. The Bills at home, coming off that Broncos game where they didn't even have to play anyone in the fourth quarter. They've been gunning for this game. They knew it was on the horizon the second they got the second seed. I think the Bills are going to be inspired after getting their ass kicked. Josh is going to be mad because people are trying to say that Lamar's going to be the MVP. I just love the Bills in the spot, man. I think they're going to be able to expose that secondary and score on them. So I got the Bills +1.5.
So I get what you're saying when it comes to Zay Flowers being out. That's huge. I mean, he's been Lamar's number one option. We always see that when Lamar's scrambling around trying to find somebody, most of the time it's Zay Flowers. It didn't matter last week because the Steelers suck cock and the Ravens were going to win the game anyway. That's going to have an impact on this game. But Sage, when I think about Lamar going up against this Bills D, I really do think it's a great matchup for the Ravens offense. I think that Derrick Henry is going to be able to run the ball all day. I don't think they're going to be able to stop him. I really don't. I've seen this Bills defense look very suspect. The Rams hung 48 on them. And I know a lot of people are going to give me shit because they ended up winning the game, but that started the game against the Patriots where Drake May just drove down the field twice, went up 14-0. That scared me. That scared me a little bit.
I think that was
this Bills team.
situational.
Also, our boy Max gave me some intel, but I'm going to use it against him. This Bills defense cannot handle speed. They're pretty slow. Those guys in the middle, like Milano, he's still coming back from an injury. Lamar, it doesn't matter who they're going to man mark Lamar with. Lamar's going to be able to run circles around him. With Lamar, you can't even prep for him because you're going to try to contain him. You're not really going to, right? I mean, how he's been playing the entire year, I don't think there's any way to stop Lamar, but Sage, I'm saying all this. I still think that Josh Allen is the best player in football.
But your other point, that's like the Baldy thing, right? He's like, everyone says like, why don't you use the spy? Why don't you use the spy against Lamar? It's like, because he's just going to outrun the spy. And it's true. Like he's just going to outrun him. He's more athletic than them and you can't tackle him. So I understand the point that you're trying to make, but I don't think it impacts how the Bills are going to approach the game. I think they're going to play their same defense that they played the first time.
But do you think the Bills are going to be able to stop this Ravens offense? Realistically.
Dude, I don't know what it is about the Ravens in these big, tight situations. They go away from it. And I've seen it too many times where I don't think it's going to be the Ravens we saw last week. Like, I think this is where playoff Lamar shows up, where that pass-heavy game plan shows up. I just think they're too in their head about this Lamar Josh thing, killing this narrative. Lamar's been all over it. Yeah, you could kick the shit out of the Steelers, so what, right? Reardon High School could kick the shit out of the Steelers with the way they're looking. I just don't think that it's just another game where they're going to be get in, get out. They want to make a statement. They know they got to take down Josh, and they're 99% going to have to take down Mahomes. They want to prove they have their guy. I just have Chase. It's not true. Like, what I'm saying is just gut. I can't have analytics or facts to back it up. It's just gut and vision. I see it. I can see it clearly. They're going to go pass happy. They want Lamar to outplay Josh. I can almost guarantee it that they're just going to go pass happy, go away from the game plan like they always do, and try and set a tone here. That's just my take. That's why I love the Bills in this situation, man.
Okay, so this is what I'll say, though. I do think that Lamar is going to be able to score on this Bills defense. I don't think they're going to be able to stop him really at all. But on the other side, the Ravens defense is so hard to understand because they're the number one defense when it comes to stopping the run. They're 31st in the league when stopping the pass. I think that Josh is going to be able to move through this defense like Swiss cheese. James Cook isn't really going to be a big factor. I think that the Bills know that if we want to beat the Ravens, we got to attack them through the air. We got to put up points. We got to put it up quick. I think that Josh is going to be able to do that. And Sage, if it comes down to a late game situation, these are the two reasons that I'm going to go with the Bills as well. What do we always see in big time playoff matchups where it's 50-50? It always comes down to the better quarterback, right? What does that better quarterback have to do? They have to win the game in the pocket. Who do you trust more? Lamar, Josh Allen in the pocket.
I mean, is it even close?
No, it's no hesitation. I trust Josh Allen a lot more, even though I talk shit about this Bills defense a little bit. I got to give them credit here. They're the number one defense in regards of turning the ball over. I think that the Bills had the highest turnover margin in the entire NFL. They're number one, and they forced the third most takeaways, right? So it's going to come down to the fact that because this is a 50-50 game. This game could go either way for me. But I got Josh Allen on my side. I trust him a lot more than Lamar. If it comes down to a situation where whichever team turns the ball over more loses, I think that's going to be the Lamar and the Ravens. You got that home field advantage as well. You got Bills Mafia. That's going to be a major advantage for the Bills. So I get why the Sharps are on the Ravens, though. If you look at this game just with the all-22 going into it, I think that the Ravens have the advantage. But there's just a couple things.
There's more to it, bro.
What?
I said there's always more to it, though. You could go with the raw numbers from the regular season that say that the Ravens pass offense is better than the Bills. But when you look at the numbers, you just know, like when you watch the tape, you just know, like what shows up in the playoffs is what the Bills do. And what doesn't show up is the Ravens year after year after year. So why not just go with the team that you trust? At home, getting a point. They could lose by one and we still hit this bet.
I'm going with the Bills. I mean, I'm going with Josh Allen. I think that it's his year. It feels like it's his year.
I really thought you were going to go with the
No,
Ravens.
I mean, Sage, this is a 50-50 game. I can't. No offense to you. I get your point. How you're saying that we've always seen this side of Lamar where he looks so badass all the way up until the big game, and then he shits himself. You're saying that they have something to prove with Lamar, trying to get him the MVP. I don't know about that, but I just think that Lamar's more likely to make mistakes. I think that Ravens pass D sucks. It sucks all year. The Bills have weapons galore. They have 4 guys they could go to. I think on every play that they do. I mean, in regards of they don't have
they got depth.
They don't have the dream team, right? But they have Shakir, Coleman, Cooper. There's going to be one guy who gets open on one of the shitty guys in the Ravens secondary. Josh is going to find him. I don't see Josh having a bad game. I honestly don't see Lamar having a bad game either, but I think that Lamar's going to make at least one mistake. That's going to turn the tides in this game. I'm expecting an all-timer stage. This might go OT. I really do think that when we look back on this playoffs, we're going to say, oh, yeah, that Ravens-Bills game, that was the best game of the entire year. I really do.
Like you said, it's happened before in the divisional round. You'll get it every now and then. One thing neither of us mentioned, too, that Bills offense just kept improving, or that Bills offensive line, and the offense kept improving as the season went on. I think they were on like a 10-game streak. If you take out that week 18 or whatever it was of them scoring 30 plus. So they're hot. The O-line, best in the league by your boys, PFF. always protecting Josh, getting push on the run. I think they'll be able to push that Ravens or D line a bit. I am concerned about the defense, but when it comes down to it, I think it's going to be a shootout, putting it in the arms of their quarterbacks. I just trust Josh Allen more at home, getting the point as a disrespected home dog.
So I will say this, though, Sage. I'm going to ask you a question because you brought up that you have some concerns with Harbaugh. Are you sure that you don't have any concerns about Sean McDermott?
Obviously, I do. 100% I do. I think he's terrible with clock management. It's crazy because it's like, you just look at it, right? The Ravens had the most Pro Bowlers in the league. They have Lamar. They have Derrick Henry. They have the Pro Bowl talent to surround the good quarterback. What does Josh really have? Like, they're deep at the receiver, but they don't really have a stud. They're deep at the running back. They have James Cook, and they're too deep at the tight end. They have a great O-line, which is something people don't like to point to enough. And the defense, like you said, is suspect. And I don't trust the coach, and I sure as hell don't trust the kicker. I just trust Josh Allen. I just want to put my money on Josh Allen, ride him, ride Bills Mafia, and just that's like the side where I just feel like if I bet on the Ravens and they just get blown out, I'm just going to feel like an idiot because I can see the Ravens losing by 10 here. I don't really see the Bills losing by 10 here. I think they'll keep it close regardless. And at the end, I trust Josh to get me that field goal at the end. I don't trust Bass to make it as much, but I trust Josh to put him in situations to win.
What I like about this game is that no matter who wins, that's going to be a sweet matchup in the AFC Championship game. Because I'll tell you right now, the Texans aren't winning that fucking game in KC. The AFC Championship next Sunday is going to be in Kansas City at Arrowhead. I mean, come on, Sage. You got either Chiefs-Bills or you got Chiefs-Lamar rematch from last year. So I'm pumped for that AFC game. We both said that we got Lions and Eagles, right, in the other side?
Yeah.
We went, I wouldn't say that we went chalk. We didn't go chalk because that Bills-Ravens game, that's not really a chalk game, but I really don't see any of the underdogs in the other three games pulling off an upset, Sage. I'd be shocked. If any of those teams won the game.
Yeah, I mean, with the Chiefs, I don't think the Chiefs will lose. Chiefs 0-7 this year in point spreads larger than 7.5, I think it was, or 6.5. So that worries me about the cover. But as far as who's going to be there next week, the Chiefs will be there. The two teams that are locks, in my opinion, to be there are the Lions and the Chiefs, the 2 1 seeds. And then the other two, I'm fairly confident in.
So you think that the Rams do have a semi shot at beating the Eagles?
Because of Jalen Hurts. Like, I can't say it's a lock. You know what I mean? Like, I can't say I'd be stunned if the Rams somehow won. If, like, it's just like 10-7 or something.
I mean, it's weird with the Eagles because they look like the most badass team on paper, except for the quarterback and the coach. But with all the stuff that's happening with AJ Brown, if they have a terrible game on Sunday and kind of Jalen Hurts has a bad game and they get dropped, it would make sense after the fact. You'd be like, okay, like clearly they were showing that there was locker room issues the entire way. Sirianni was getting, Eagles fans were calling for Sirianni's head around week 5. So even though we're looking at the Eagles as being such a badass team, I guess maybe there's a way that they could lose to the Rams. I don't see it, but what I'm saying with that is that if they do win and they play the Lions the next week, I think the Lions boat race them. I really do. So I think it'd be Lions, and in all honesty, the AFC matchup, going to be a toss-up for me either way. Any way it goes.
Oh, we'll get into it more next week once it's like, laid out and we see what happens. Who comes out healthy, who comes out injured.
It's cool. It's cool after the divisional round to kind of just see what you predict's going to happen. What's going to be the layout the entire rest of the year, because it's getting down to it, Sage. Like, we're almost there.
Yeah, we're almost there. It's interesting, man. I need to see what this Lions defense looks like. I don't know if that was a flash in the pan with what we saw week 18, but I'm interested because if they can't stop the run again, I'm going to be worried about them when Philly comes to town. If Philly comes to town, which they should.
The NFL's still wide open, man.
I don't think so. Kansas City.
Are we just doing the Chiefs stuff? If the Chiefs, they're playing the Lions, they could put up 55 if they wanted to, even though they put up 17 the week before.
We've seen Jared Goff.
You got to admit that this Chiefs team is vulnerable. They are vulnerable, Sage. They got the dream matchup. They're at home. They got the bye. They're playing fucking CJ Stroud and the Texans. Like, they're going to roll through them. But when they play a Baltimore Buffalo, man, I'm telling you, I think we're all going to see it. Where moving out a lifetime guard at left tackle isn't going to work the best way that you think it is.
Has he not been a left tackle his whole life? until he went to the Chiefs?
What, in college?
I don't know, honestly.
When
He's been
he
around
played
league
in
for a
the
while.
fucking MAC or something, left tackle, that's different than playing left tackle in the NFL, dude.
Let's see. I honestly, I don't
mean,
know.
you got me burned on the first one. Maybe you're right on this one again. I don't know.
I remember he was on the Patriots for a little. He protected my boy Tom Brady, but I just
don't
don't
know if you're on KC offensive line Reddits or anything finding out this information.
I just listened to Nick Wright. He has all the information you ever need.
Oh, that's true. I haven't been. Did you see? So really quick, I know that we're running out of time here, but did you see on First Things First when they brought my girl Snoop from the
I saw
Wire?
your thing. I was trying to send.
Oh my god, that was so awesome. So to everybody who's watched The Wire, Snoop, we know the girl who was in Marlowe's crew with the fucking screw gun that she would kill people with. She was on First Things First.
He's been a left guard his whole career.
But she was on First Things First, repping a Lamar jersey, going up against Nick Wright. The Wire, man, such a slept-on show. I mean, I know that it's critically acclaimed.
As I say,
a lot of people say that it's one of the best shows of all time, but I don't think I've had one person in my friend group that's ever watched The Wire. Haven't been able to ever bring up Wire stuff with everybody. Everybody's seen Breaking Bad. Everybody's seen The Sopranos, Game of Thrones, but The Wire gets slept on, man. It's such a fucking good show.
I'll give it a watch for you once I finish this run through with The Sopranos.
There we go. But Sager, anything else before we hop off here? I know that it's been hard to fight for your time this week, man. I mean, busy week for you.
Been a busy man, but I'll always make time for the Wodies for the go-to to watch this show. Got to follow us on TikTok. The TikTok's coming up quicker than you think. There's not going to be much left for us to be on there. We're on Chinese.
Is TikTok gone in 2 days? I saw Supreme Court officially let the bill go through.
But it could still be bought is the thing, which I think is what's going to end up happening. We'll see. We'll see what happens, but follow us on TikTok. Follow us on Chinese TikTok, our Twitters, YouTube, everything. Subscribe, like the stream, help us push it out.
Hopefully 47 could save us when it comes to our TikTok account. But yes, please like, subscribe, do all that shit. Sager, it was a pleasure, my man. Can't wait
We'll be back
for the
Sunday,
playoff
right?
games coming up on Saturday, Sunday. Are we going to do Sunday? Are we going to do Sunday right after that 3:30 live stream for the reaction?
I think so.
What works for you, baby? What works for you?
Sunday's the best because Monday's going to be the national championship. We're probably going to want to watch that at night.
Okay, so right now I see we got our boy Remo on the chat right here. What's the official prediction for Notre Dame, Ohio State, and the Natty T? A little bonus coverage here.
31-13, Ohio State.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 35-21, Ohio State. Remo, I'm gonna be rooting for you. I'm hoping that the Fighting Irish can find a way through, but that Ohio State team, man, I don't think I've seen a team humming like they've been the past couple weeks in college football in a while. So
yeah, it's beautiful. We get to watch it, man. Like I said,
we'll see, but
matchup.
Keep in tune. Follow us on Twitter for any updates, but we're probably going to be coming to you right after that Bills-Ravens game on Sunday. Who knows? We may even bring our boy Max onto the stream. If it's a Ravens win, probably not. If it's a Bills win, I think that we're going to bring him on. So
I said we'll bring him on either sad because they lost to the Ravens or sad because they have to play the Chiefs next round. So either way, we'll get a sad Max.
I don't know, man. I think if you're a Bills fan, you get a win this weekend. There's no way you could be sad anyway. But that's going to be it for the stream today, guys. We'll talk to you later.